All right, folks, welcome back to the Krueg Show. It's time for the Bay Area Sports Rundown with the great Ryan Smith in the house. What's going on, Ryan?
Oh, not much. Looking forward to tonight's games for sure.
Very much.
Yeah.
Go
okay.
Warriors.
Let's
on after. We're going to be on after tonight.
You're going to be on after.
That's right. We're going to be on after. The great Cyrus Satsis will be in the house. Great Dan Coach Emilio, maybe Kylan Mills. You never know. And Bob Fitz. That's right. We got Fitz. That's right. Fitz is going to be on tonight. Our first edition of Fitz in the post game. So we were really excited for tonight.
He's got to hear Dan's call.
I know, seriously. That will make Fitz laugh so loud.
Okay. All right. Getting into it. All right. This is a fun question that we thought up. What would be the best team to have on Hard Knocks? 49ers, just putting it out there, yet to be on Hard Knocks. What are your thoughts?
Well, you know what? It's funny. I really think that you give something away if you go on Hard Knocks. And I think the 49ers are smart to not want to go on because at some level, you're showing people your mindset, your ideology, your thoughts on practice, your thoughts on communication, your outlook on the world. I mean, it's why teams do this. If I could, I would never want my team. As a fan, selfishly, I want this because I would love to have Niner-based content. But, as far as competitively, I think you're working at a competitive disadvantage. This year, did you say it was going to be Detroit in camp or Arizona?
So it's going to be Detroit in camp, and then it's going to be the Cardinals during the season. So what's interesting is the stipulations for Hard Knocks are, so you can't be on Hard Knocks if you have a first-year head coach, can't be on Hard Knocks if you've made the playoffs in at least one of the past 2 years, and can't be on Hard Knocks if you've already been on Hard Knocks in one of the past 10 years. So I don't know if that applies necessarily to the in-season Hard Knocks, though, because the Cardinals are...
Well, I'll say this. I mean, regardless of the rules, and that's basically how the Niners have avoided the whole thing, is they've always been a playoff team for the most part, or they've just begged out so aggressively that they haven't gotten picked. But I kind of like the Cowboys on there because, to me, I think it's pretty clear at this point. We've seen enough additions. When the Raiders were doing it, they were forced to do it gun to their head, and it was terrible. It wasn't worth the time. They didn't provide the access. They didn't really give you anything interesting. They didn't take you behind the scenes. I think you need a team that wants to do it, that wants the cameras around. Jerry Jones and his kid, and it's like, you know what? They love the attention, and there's so many, they don't mind showing you their mindset, and they're more open. And so that makes for the more access, the better on that show. So as far as I'm concerned, it could be an annual show on the Cowboys, and I'd be fine because one, the Cowboys we know the Cowboys aren't going to win anything. Two, Jerry makes it interesting, and, the passion for Cowboy, they're an iconic franchise. I kind of like it when they feature the Cowboys, to be honest. I mean, selfishly Niners, but then when you think about it, competitively, I think I'd rather pass. Let's have the Cowboys do it every year.
Hey, I wouldn't be mad at that. Another shout out to maybe the Washington Commanders, just because of, I think, the Dan Snyder stuff could be explosive. They would never allow that to happen. But
yeah, that's the last thing Dan Snyder needs right now is additional cameras hanging out in the facility. That would not. I'll tell you one that I would love to see is I'd love to see the new Dolphins regime operating with all their speed and Tyreek Hill and Raheem Mostert and South Beach and Mike McDaniel. And to me, I think they would be very interesting. Or Robert Saleh and the Jets, the Zach Wilson story as he's totally bulked up this year. And, the Jets are in kind of aggressive, we need to be better now mode. I like those two teams. I wouldn't mind either.
Oh, I totally agree. All right, next topic we got. Kyle came out and said a little bit about Jimmy G and whether or not he's going to be traded, and he seemed like he was pretty honest. He said, "I expected sometime he'll be traded, but it's not a guarantee. It went on hold when surgery happened." So,
Yeah, I mean, my read is that's the perfect thing to say. It's not a guarantee means we're going to trade Jimmy, and don't think just because I stated it, you can offer us nothing. You know what I mean? He's trying to maintain some value. It's interesting. I would say the way that 49ers have played this hand, that if they don't get something in a trade, I think they look really bad. I think they look really bad. And I don't buy the spin in the 11th hour of, you know what, we could have gotten something, but we decided that, we would let Jimmy cut his own deal. And so we released him. That you've strung along the fan base for too long to get nothing. You got to get something. You got to get now at this point, you've made such a charade of this thing. And maybe maybe it's circumstantial or situational, I should say, because, he had the surgery and they may have had a deal done long ago. So maybe it's just situational and it's really not a reflection on anything. But needless to say, the fan base has been strung along all the way through, and they're paying attention to this. And I just think you got to get something. I don't care if it's a day 3 pick. I don't care if it's a 5th round pick or a 6th round pick. You got to get something. You can't just release him in July.
Completely agree. All right. You know what? Why don't we pay the bills?
Okay, let's do that. We'll take a quick break before a word from our sponsors, and we'll come back. We'll talk a little Giants baseball coming up next. Larry Krueger here for Telmetrics. Thanks to Casey Bateman and the good people at Telmetrics. If you're an occupational therapist, if you're an orthopedic surgeon, a chiropractor, a physical therapist of any kind, Telmetrics is designed for you to use in your practice and will greatly benefit your patients. Telmetrics uses computer vision and artificial intelligence and provides a platform for outpatient rehab therapy services, both in the clinical and the telehealth environments. So using Telmetrics can improve your patient's experience and much more. So for all your sports injury needs, or if you're a physical rehabilitation specialist of any kind, make sure you use telmetrics.co, Telmetrix.co. And thanks to Casey Bateman and all the good people at Telmetrics for being a proud sponsor of the Krueg. I'd like to thank our sponsor, Dan Coach Emilio. Dan is a buddy, and he is a phenomenal retirement planning specialist, and you can contact him today at securemoney.com or at his number 925-628-9966. There's a lot of uncertainty in our world right now, and you want to make sure that your money is secure. That is the key. Danny's got 25 years of experience, born and raised right here in the Bay Area, and he can help you get an immediate 10% premium bonus on your principal retirement account. So give him a call, 925-628-9966. He'll make an appointment with you and you can sit down. It's not a one size fits all kind of a deal. He'll consult with you and come up with a strategy to get you going to where you want to be. Once again, 925-628-9966, securemoney.com on the web. And thanks to Dan Coach Emilio and all the people at Secure Money for being proud sponsors of the Krueg Show. All right, welcome back to the Krueg Show as we continue with our Bay Area Sports Live Rundown. Ryan Smith in the house. So far, we've talked about little Hard Knocks and a little bit on Kyle, his comments on Jimmy Garoppolo. Let's switch gears and talk about the Giants. 5 losses in a row for the Giants. May has not been kind.
No, it really has not. And the big thing that's really stuck out to me about this team is we're taking care of the lesser teams. We're 15-5 combined against the Marlins, Guardians, Nationals, Rockies, and A's. That's an 122 win pace. But switching gears, playing the Padres, Mets, Dodgers, Cardinals, Brewers, the best teams in the NL, we're 7-14. That's a 54 win pace. So I just want to know, what are your thoughts? Like, why are we unable to take care of the better teams in the NL is one thing, and then do you think that the idea is that, as long as we can kind of tread water and, take care of the bottom feeders, that, we can add some pieces at the deadline that will allow us to compete with the better teams?
It's real simple. It's just, last year the Giants were, deep enough and they got career years out of a lot of the veteran guys. This year they're getting kind of come back to earth years from some of those veterans who peaked. and the injuries and the COVID has tapped into their 40-man roster depth. They're not as deep. They're just not as deep. And now, because of it, I mean, they've had to make 3 or 4 trades with the Mariners, acquiring minor league players. They're platooning. Bart hasn't been successful. Longoria hasn't gotten it going. Crawford hasn't gotten it going. That's a big part of your infield, it really is. And then in the outfield, they've got mostly platoon players. They don't really have that everyday outfielder. They don't have Duggar locking down center field. So I think defensively, there's kind of a chaotic feel to the team. They're, mid-pack as far as fielding and the bullpen I think is okay, but they've been a little hit and miss. I mean, I think the starting staff is probably a strength, but there's been some regression after a hot start. So I just think overall, if you said, give me the number one reason the Giants are struggling right around 500 right now and don't look like they're in the same tier as the top teams in the National League, it's a lack of depth on the 25-man, on the 40-man. They're acquiring guys like Papirski and Padlo and throwing those guys in at the major league level. Why? Because their prospects aren't quite ready, and their 40-man roster depth isn't quite there. So Farhan is smart. He's competitive, but he's got his work cut out for him. And I think you're probably going to see a number of maneuvers. He believes strongly in incremental improvement. And now we're going to see the Giants make a slew of moves, I would imagine, over the next couple months, searching desperately for that incremental improvement. The one positive, they're not buried. They got off to a decent start. They're still over 500, and there's an extra playoff team. So all those things, if they can get it going in the second half, they can be below the Dodgers and the Mets and the Brewers and the Padres and still wind up in the playoffs in the National League. So all is not lost, but the lack of depth is killing them this year.
Yeah, I completely agree. And, just thinking back, sometimes it's actually more frustrating when, you have a team that cleans up versus the better teams in the league and then loses to the bottom feeders, like one of those teams that just plays up and plays down to their competition. That's
a focus issue usually.
Yeah. And it seems like the Giants are just, they're outgunned versus the better teams, but, versus the teams in their vicinity and lower, they're taking care of business. So at least that's good. All right, moving on. Dubs, Mavericks, Game 4. Kind of a weird feeling because it's kind of like, well, no one's ever come back from 0-3. And so, the series is over, but we still have to play this game. And so I'm just wondering, do you think Mavs roll over? Do you think the Warriors come out, with their best punch, just try and get it over with? Or do you think this one's coming back to San Francisco?
It's funny. I've been wavering on this one. I've been thinking about this for the last 24 hours. All right. My initial pick in this series was Warriors in 5 with the quote unquote gentleman's sweep, which means Warriors win game 1, 2, and 3, but then lose this 4th game. Dallas wins it on their home floor. Their fans leave the arena feeling good. Warriors come back to Oakland and win it in 5. But the more I'm watching Golden State, the more I see a team that is locked in, that understands that they're dinged up. Now, Otto Porter's not going to go. So that probably means what my initial prediction was is probably going to come true, that the Mavericks probably rout in game 4 and the Warriors finish it up in game 5. That's I'll give that like the 90% chance of happening, but I'm going to say there's a 10% chance that Golden State is really focused on getting that rest and that they're better than Dallas and that they're just going to put Dallas away in 4. That they'll be able to take Dallas's best punch and just roll even without Otto Porter and be able to beat Dallas just on the players they will have available tonight. I think Golden State's really deep. I made the point the other night. I think Dallas has 2 starting players. They've got Luka, and I think Dinwiddie is a starting caliber player who they're bringing off the bench. The rest of their team, I think, are made up of bench players. Even the guard from Villanova, I think he's at his best. He's like a sick Jalen Brunson, who's obviously had a great improvement. He's still, I think, on a championship team like a 6-man or a bench guy. So I see them as a team that has 2 starters. I see Golden State as a team with like 8 starters or 9 starters. Kuminga's a starter. He's just young. Moody's a starter. He's just young. Jordan Poole's a starter. On this team, he's not starting. You name it. I mean, Otto Porter, I think, is a starting caliber NBA player, but on this team, he doesn't start. So the Warriors are deep. And I think that depth will show itself here. I'll give the Warriors a 10% chance of winning a close, hard-fought game and finishing off the Mavericks in 4. But if you said, what's the most likely? I would say it's most likely Dallas fires a big effort and Golden State finishes up in 5.
Do you realize, if you had a guess, if they win tonight, how many wins in a row do you think that is in the Western Conference Finals?
For Golden State, what, 8, something like that, 9?
10.
10.
That's
wow.
crazy.
Wow.
And 7 of those, if they win tonight, then 8 of those 10 would be without KD as well because of that Portland series.
Unbelievable. Let's go one more word from our sponsors. We'll come back and finish up with the Eastern Conference Finals. It's a best of 3 between the Celtics and the Heat. We'll get to it next. And thanks to Tony Cassera and the good people at Cassera's Italian Menswear. They are housing the Krueg Show t-shirts, and they're a proud sponsor of the show as well. The Krueg Show t-shirt, the Krueg Show podcast t-shirt is available there at their store in Dublin. Their address is 7372 San Ramon Road in Dublin, California. And go see Tony Cassera and get yourself a Krueg Show t-shirt and support the show. And special thanks to our sponsor, New York Style Italian Sausage. That's right, NewYorkStyleSausage.com is their website. Phenomenal product, whether it's the breakfast sausage, the Italian mild, the Italian spicy, the chorizo. You cannot go wrong with New York Style Italian Sausage. Once again, NewYorkStyleSausage.com, often imitated, never equaled. And they are a proud sponsor of the Krueg Show. Thanks to them as well. All right, welcome back to the Krueg Show, Bay Area Sports Live Rundown. Ryan Smith in the house. So far, we talked a little Hard Knocks, a little Niners, a little Giants, a little Warriors, Mavs, Game 4 tonight. But also, there's that Eastern Conference Finals series. Ryan, what's your thought?
All right, yeah, we got Game 5 coming up. Just a wonky series. Everyone seems to be complaining about, it's blowout, then blowout, then blowout, then blowout. But both teams have blown the other out on their home floor. I just want your prediction for Game 5, as well as who are you kind of rooting for in this one? I think we both want to see it go 7, but who are you rooting for in this one?
Well, I'm rooting for Boston because I want to see the Warriors and the Celtics. I think that would just be awesome. I think that the Warriors, I don't think is really going to get their full, acceptance as a dynasty until they do it in the Northeast against a Northeast favorite like the Boston Celtics. So I'm rooting for that. This last game was really interesting as Boston just took it to Miami to even that series. And Miami's entire starting 5 couldn't get it going offensively. But you look at Miami, I think Miami's the deeper team, but man, Boston looks so good in the last game. I guess I'll still stay with Miami here. I picked Boston at the beginning of the series, but it seems to me that Miami's guys are a little tougher, a little bit more rugged, and that when push comes to shove, with the money on the table, I think they've got guys who can kind of inflict their, will on the series. Lowry's that kind of player. Butler's that kind of player. PJ Tucker's that kind of player. They're well coached. I mean, not that Boston's not. I think Boston Warriors is what I'm rooting for, but I think Miami. If you say who's getting over, I'll say Miami gets over.
Yeah, this is I heard this yesterday. I don't normally watch Get Up, but this was a great stat. They asked who is the one team under the Steve Kerr era, both regular season and playoffs included, that has a winning record against the Warriors. And the answer to that question is the Boston Celtics.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And also, I want to see Steph Curry silence that crowd, because Steph Curry is the one thing I think that Steph wants that he doesn't have yet is a Finals MVP. And if he could go into Boston and light them up and get that MVP, I think that would be maybe the career, the career capper right there for Steph.
Oh, it'd be unbelievable. How cool would this be? He won the first ever inaugural Kobe Bryant All-Star Game MVP. He's about to win the first ever inaugural Magic Johnson Western Conference Finals MVP. And then he's got a chance at the first not the first, but his first Bill Russell Finals MVP. Man, would be
great to see, man. It would be absolutely great to see. And to do it on that stage in front of those fans, to a team like the Boston Celtics with all the history and the everything that goes along with it, I think it would cement the Warriors dynasty. Steph's a Hall of Famer already, but it may cement Draymond Green's Hall of Fame status if he had a monster series. To me, I think the Warriors as a dynasty will get their most due if they beat Boston instead of Miami.
I completely agree, especially when you think about Barstool Sports, all Boston, The Ringer, headed by Bill Simmons, all Boston. There's so many NBA writers that are Boston centric. So I think, I completely agree. I think it'd vault Steph up the all-time list. I think this team would be remembered in a different way. So I'm rooting for Boston as well.
Good stuff, man. Bay Area Sports Live Rundown. We're going to do it every day. And today, what can we say? Some good topics right there. And join us tonight after Warriors Mavericks for game 4 reaction and post game. We'll take some video calls. We'll do some audio calls. Enjoying the YouTube experience for sure. And so we'll see you later on tonight.
Never met a man I've been scared of. Careful, you gon' get exactly what you asked for. Here for whatever you bring me, getting handled. I answer to no one, I don't need to hassle.